Hey everybody, welcome back to I Told My Wife I'm Paying Bills. I'm Slim,
And I'm Chris.
and we are back for our mobile gaming episode. This one I had to do this one because I have been hooked on three different mobile games for at least I want to say like 2, maybe 3 years, maybe even more than that. So I kind of wanted to dive into the slight addiction I have. 'Cause anytime I find myself too addicted to something, I put it down. So I kind of want to dive into that. But before we go into it, Chris, do you have a lot of experience with mobile gaming?
Mainly as far as my handhelds went, probably started with I guess I could say the original Nintendo Game Boy. Unless you want to go further back and count like the little handheld systems like the little Coleco handheld systems and things from back in the day.
So let's pause for a second for that. There's two things I want to say. One, unfortunately, again, if you listen to our last episode, just because of the whole recording times and everything like that, and just how our recording days had the flow, Black is going to be out for this episode, but he should be back for the next episode. So definitely come back. Black will be here, I promise. All right. So the second thing I wanted to actually say is, for the purpose of this show, we're going to include any type of handheld game that can go in your pocket and can travel with you. We're gonna go ahead and include that in. The only reason why I don't want to include the Switch though, is because the Switch is more console than pocket mobile type game. It is a mobile console, but it's not like one of those where you just kind of easily just throw it in your pocket or whatever. More people play it. Well, I can't really say more people play because I don't officially know. However, again, we're gonna exclude the Switch, but we're going to include Game Boys. We're gonna include the Tiger games. We're gonna include the PSP. Now, go ahead and go back to what you were saying about the Coleco, I believe you said?
Yes, I had handheld Coleco football, and then I had one that you actually wasn't exactly pocket size, but you could actually because it actually had cartridges you could actually switch in and out of it. And then I guess the next evolution of that was pretty much the the Game Boy, which I got my first one when I was actually I was in the desert when I got my first Game Boy, and bought when we had they had little makeshift outposts out where they were selling stuff out there, and I actually bought my first Game Boy out there.
Yeah, wow, wow. And I remember my first Game Boy. I bought it. It was from Rose's. My mother worked there. I don't know if I bought it directly from her store or it was from the store that was in Denby. But I bought that with my money, and I bought a whole bunch of different kits for it and everything, and I had to put it on layaway to buy it, and I don't remember how long I had it on layaway. It seemed like forever though, and I had that a very long time. I had that well into adult. I bought it as a teenager, um, say 16, 17, maybe a little bit less than that. I can't remember if I was making my own money when I bought it or if it was like I was saving up birthday money, different money people gave me here, there, and stuff like that. So I don't remember for sure, but I do know that I had it on layaway and it took me forever, and I finally got it out, and I rocked that game till it broke, and it didn't really even break really. I It was just like the door on the back of the thing didn't work, and then my rechargeable battery, I had to leave it plugged up the whole time and all that. In the end, there was a little kid, he was a teenager who lived next door to me when I was an adult. I was in my early 20s, and he was bored. He didn't have any console. He was just bored in the house, and he used to just knock on my door next door and just come and talk to me and everything. And I was like, "You don't got any game system?" And at the time, I was playing my game system. I think I was playing my PlayStation, and I didn't want him to bother me. So I was like, "Well, here, take this one," and I gave him my Game Boy.
Man, it was like when after I bought mine, and I think half of my platoon wanted to play that thing, so I knew whenever I saw one of my partners coming over with a grin on their face with their thumbs twitching, I was like, "Oh, guess who wants to borrow?" I should have charged for that thing.
Yeah, right. Yeah, you probably, man, if you had charged, man, you would have made out on that. Um, But before we go even deeper, though, mostly when people say mobile gaming, they actually think of mobile gaming like on a mobile phone. So the first known mobile game was actually a version of Tetris that was pre-installed on the Hagnut MT 2000 in 1994. That was basically that was basically a mobile phone, an older mobile phone. Siemens actually ran a version of Tetris in '93 on something else, and it was actually called Klotz. So it wasn't even Tetris; it was Klotz,
Hmm,
whatever. But either way, that's actually considered the first known mobile game. But
hmm.
as far as mobile phone games, let's go back. And I remember you were a Angry Birds fan. However, before that, simple mobile games. What simple mobile games do you remember? Like that in terms of mobile on the actual phone.
Actually, I think Angry Birds was probably where I started off at. Other than there were a few that were programs that I downloaded that were basically imitating old, I guess old hardware. I mean, like one of them was like a version of like Speak and Spell. But as far as actual games, though, probably the first actual mobile game I probably downloaded was probably a version of Angry Birds. As far as like when on my first actual smartphone, which was an Evo.
So I remember before I even had a smartphone, the first one I remember, I may have played other games before this, but the first one I remember was like Fly Ribbon, and then I believe I played Snake. Do you remember Snake?
Yes, because Snake always reminded me of what was it? There was a game, and I can't think of it. It was an old arcade game, but it was very similar to that. Not to mention, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the old Tron game where you had to box in the light cycle game.
Exactly. Yes, yes, yeah. So that's kind of what I remember starting out in mobile games. And again, Fly Ribbon is kind of like Flappy Birds,
Mhm.
where you can't touch the ground, you can't touch the ceiling. You had to kind of keep it in this little like wave going, and they had like a little cavern you went through. So you had to hit the button so many times to kind of go up over a ridge, or you had to like leave the button so the thing can actually go down and ease, and you had to kind of go. So I remember playing that, and that game was really stressful. It was just stressful because of how small the cavern was you had to go through. So that was really fun. But fast forwarding in between the current mobile games that I play and the previous games that I played like Fly Ribbon and Snake, we're going back to Game Boy and other handheld console games. So that's the distinguishing between those two. Those are considered handheld consoles. Game Boy, PSP. Um, there was the what was the other one? There was another major the Game Gear. That's what I was trying to think of. Game Gear was another major one. They actually had a lot of different types of ones, and a lot of those are actually called micro consoles. Now, there was a whole bunch of different ones, but the micro consoles are also slightly different too. So all these different type of mobile gaming is pretty funny because even micro consoles aren't even that mobile. They are mobile, but you still have to hook them up to something like a TV or something like that. So really, you really can't really go into that and say that.
I remember hearing about the Nintendo and reading articles about the Nintendo Game and Watches, and I would every once in a while meet someone that had one and was able to play around with them, but I never actually
I don't
owned one.
remember the
So
Nintendo Game& and Watch.
they were pretty neat. They were actually reminded me a lot of like the LJN handhelds, and where you was the animation was basically just based on where the character was positioned.
So you said gaming watch, like the watch you wear on your wrist, correct?
These were mostly, even though they were called gaming watches, I don't think you actually put them on your wrist. Most of them were like little rectangular handhelds.
I just wanted to be sure because what I was looking at, they actually had two different things.
Mhm.
So when you said gaming watch, I put in gaming watch, and originally the what you're talking about came up, but there actually was a watch, a Nintendo watch that was a little small smartwatch that actually had like a couple different games. However, the game and watch with
Mhm.
ampersand. Um, yeah, I had one of those, and my brother had one. So my brother probably still has his. He had Donkey Kong. I
Okay.
had, I want to say Donkey Kong Jr. I think it was Donkey Kong Jr. And
Mhm.
mine ended up either breaking or we just got lost, or I left it in New York or something like that with our family. I don't remember for sure. But there was a couple different versions of that, which is so funny. I've never told you that we've actually had one of those, 'cause
Oh, that's
I used to actually periodically throw some batteries in it and carry it around with me because I really loved that game. It was actually really fun. They had a couple different ones. They had Castlevania, they had, Legend of Zelda, Mario Brothers, Donkey Kong Jr., Donkey Kong, um and a couple different other ones too. I can't remember all of the ones they had, but, yeah, my brother one and the one that my brother had folded, on top of each other, and those were by yeah, like you said, Nintendo. So, those were actually really dope. I really, really enjoyed those systems, and I don't even remember where my brother got his, but, um he got his first, and then, I wanted one so bad that I think, in New York, either a relative or well, my grandmother or someone else bought it for me, or my cousin gave it to me or something like that because I wanted one so bad, and, we used to get in, like, arguments about letting me play and stuff like that. That was funny. So, that was another one of my forays into mobile gaming. I truly those gaming watches were really fun, man. I have such fond memories of actually playing those. So, you
yeah,
said
they
you've
were
never owned
definitely
one
fun to
yourself?
pick up. No, I've never actually owned one. I always admired them from a distance, but I never actually owned one of those.
Yeah, man. Oh, man. It's so funny. I really wish I had mine. My brother probably couldn't even know where his is now, so but I really wish I still had mine. I'd let you try it out. It just takes 2 button cell batteries. You go in there, and it's actually really fun. So, it's
Yeah.
really fun to play. Moving on, a little bit higher from that, we can actually go ahead and go into the actual, mobile consoles, PlayStation, PSPs, PSP Vita. Did you ever own a Vita?
No, I actually I've still been considering getting a Vita recently, but I just haven't been able to bring myself to actually justify going through the work of doing it because I'm just like I with my eyesight just not being anywhere near what it used to be. Like I require a larger screen, so it's one of the reasons why I haven't really considered investing into one of the handheld PCs like the Steam Decks and things recently, which would make good emulation devices to play some of our old PSP games and stuff on.
Yeah, my daughter's boyfriend actually has a Steam Deck too, and his was really dope. His was really dope. I would love to get one of those to actually jump into, mobile, not mobile, PC gaming, but I don't think I would ever do it, because those are also expensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Oh, I was about to say the ranges they're getting to the around the $300 range for a decent one.
right,
So
again, those are expensive.
yeah,
This
I
'cause
said that like I've just got $300 just.
exactly, exactly. When there's so many other things I could do for 75 bucks and do it, here or there, I'm like,
Yeah,
I can't see myself. It's not like it's 1,000, so that's good.
yeah.
But it's still expensive for me. But um, yeah, the Steam Deck, man, I saw that and I forgot there was something else that he was playing on it that was just moving so smoothly. I was like, man, and he was taking it around for a while, like a couple times where we went like take long trips. Well, not long, long trips, but like when we take trips to like Norfolk and stuff like that, and it's all four of us in the car, he'll bring his Steam Deck with him, whatever. So,
Yeah,
remind
and
me back of I have like my PSP stuff.
every time I see when I see that thing running Forza Horizon, one of them running Forza Horizon or Horizon 5, especially, I'm just like I just go, I get giddy over that. That more than anything makes me want to get one. But recently, though, being that they've got like the play anywhere as far as Xbox's new philosophy as far as gaming goes, um, I actually was experimenting recently with playing the games on my VR headset on my Quest 3, and I just hooked an Xbox controller up to it, and that kind of solved the screen size thing and being able to play it mobile because you can kind of play, but can't play it streaming if I'm traveling somewhere because I'd have to have like some super good internet connection for that. But which I can't afford that level of internet connection. But as far as like just being able to get somewhere static and actually play, it wasn't bad, but the lag was kind of buggy. I really didn't when it was good when it was working, but then when it would hit the moments of lag, it would kind of
Yeah, I
charge my
wonder
experience a
if
bit.
a car's internet connection will work because it I've seen like a lot of these new cars they actually have their own internet and people do a lot in those cars now. And it's so funny because I remember one time Tanya's aunt and her family were on the way to Virginia from where they used to live at
Mhm.
and they were on the way, and her cousin jumped on his Xbox and was playing Halo with us on his Xbox while they were in the car, and I'm like, "How are you doing that?" He's like, "Yeah, we're just using the mobile." I'm like, "Really?" I was like, I was astounded. I was like, but again, that wasn't the car's internet, but that's what I'm saying. He was able to play that game back then with mobile internet. So now with cars having internet actually in them, I wonder how well it would do because the internet has gotten so much stronger and better now, you know?
Yeah, the coverage has definitely gotten a lot better. I mean, especially when I go back to the Evo and barely being able to get a signal anywhere that I was at to now I can stream pretty decent amounts of data.
So out of the mobile consoles that you've owned, was how many first let me say, how many did you have that you can remember mobile consoles in between the mobile phone and previous mobile phone?
We're talking about like the Game Boys
Yeah,
and
like
like
Game Boy,
and PSP.
PSP, I forgot the Nintendo ones, mobile other ones. Oh, sorry, Nintendo was Game Boy, but I keep trying to say it, like Game Gear, that was Sega, and then
Yeah,
there was the other ones I can't
I,
remember.
I never owned a Game Gear because yeah, at that time I couldn't afford. Although I did. Oh, I take it back. I forgot. I did own a Lynx. I still own an Atari Lynx. Yeah, and I do mean the fat one. Yeah, the big giant fat one. Matter of fact, but yeah, I doubt if it would actually work nowadays because especially with all the old components that are in there, it's probably blown and gone bad. But I've watched so many retro sites lately where they're refurbishing stuff like that, but I get caught between trying to refurbish it and just being able to emulate it.
Yeah.
Which it's easier to emulate it than it is to actually go back and and
It
refurbish
definitely
those.
is, but still
Yeah,
there's the nostalgia. That's what keeps me playing
yeah,
my PSP and powering it up and then play it for like a day and a half and then, just let the battery die again.
yeah. Matter of fact, I'm scared to use those batteries. I've actually had mine out within the past year and just plugged it up and ran it, but I'm scared to use those batteries because I don't even think my batteries work anymore. I think they've swollen up and I need to get rid of them.
Oh, wow, yeah. I gotta look, I haven't even looked at my battery anymore.
Matter of fact, I accidentally punctured one and burnt a hole in the carpet.
I remember you talking about that, yeah. But I I actually had one of the earlier PSPs, so I think mine had one of those batteries that weren't as volatile.
Hmm.
So, um, I have to actually look now. Now that you said that about the battery swelling up, I gotta go look at mine. So, so what other handheld consoles did you have?
Really, just I mean, not going back to the '70s. Game Boy, um, yeah, the Lynx and the PSP were just about my only three that I really went with.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And I only owned the
Oh,
Game Boy and the and what?
I forgot. I did have a DS for a little bit, but I ended up giving that one away to my grandson.
Oh, okay. So I ended up only owning the PSP and the Nintendo Game
Mm.
Boy, original Game Boy. I kind of temporarily had a Game Boy Advance because I think Malcolm let me borrow his for a little while, or somebody let me borrow theirs for a little while, but I ended up having to give it back. Uh, and Malcolm actually let me borrow his Game Gear for a little while because he had one of those. That thing took 6 batteries, so I didn't play it very long.
That Lynx probably ran for about 30 minutes on like about somewhere between 6 to 8 batteries, 8 AAA
Right, and that
batteries.
was just ridiculous. That was
Yeah.
crazy.
Whereas that Game Boy would run for days with just
4, 4
yeah.
batteries, and you can actually play different games for days. So, I specifically remember 2 of the games I had, or 3 games that I had, but at least 2 of the games that I remember having, of course, other was Tetris, but one was Spider-Man, was one of my Nintendo games, and the other, oh man, it was Super Mario, and I can't remember what the name of that one was. It was a Super Mario one for the Game Boy. So,
I'd seriously been considering getting a 3DS recently. And
really?
I actually had some parts in there from an old busted Nintendo DS, and was thinking about like ordering, see if I could order some replacement and repair parts for that offline. But I really kind of would like to get have been considering a 3DS.
I've never owned a DS,
Hmm.
but my daughter, she's had 2. I think she's had a DS and a 3DS. She ended up having a pink one, and then she got a blue one. But I think my wife ended up getting one of hers. She got her own DS as well. But I've never owned a DS. Like it got to a point where like I you can give me anything Nintendo. You know, um, I'm trying to change that ways because I'm borrowing Alex's Nintendo Switch now. But again, at the time I didn't touch the DS. I played a couple of games on it that they had, but I wasn't a big DS person. So I just stuck with the games that I knew.
My relationship with Nintendo is weird because I absolutely love their games when I'm playing them, but it's just that between time and the types of games that I play, me, which is mostly the console or the PC games. I'm like, yeah, I usually just don't get around to Nintendo games in recent years.
Yeah, I definitely
And
gotta try and be better. I gotta try to
yeah,
really be better. I walked into the store to try to find some games that I like, and I still haven't found anything yet. So
mhm.
I've got to just find a game and try it out. And honestly, see, and also check online, check the online store, and see if there's a game that I can like. So let's fast forward then to smartphones. Smartphones come out, and the games get so much better. So going back to what you said, first one you downloaded was Angry Birds, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, tell me about Angry Birds. I've never downloaded it. I've played it on something else. It was like I think I played it. It wasn't on a console. I think I just played on like on a computer. But I've never played it on a mobile phone because I refused to download it because of the addiction factor. So,
Yeah, you probably did the right thing because yeah,
well,
because
there's always some kind of other addiction in there.
yeah, yeah, but just because of like the physics of it and just the being able to, it was so fun. Just because it's such a simple game, but it's just that. But that's, I guess that's how most addictive games are. They're simple to play, but hard to master. And then when they came out with the Star Wars one, I was just like, oh, I'm done. But it was crazy because you could actually download the Star Wars ones for free, but they were charging you for them on the consoles.
Wow. And so then
Yeah,
that's probably where I played it. I probably played it on console
yeah.
then.
And then when they had the motion control, gimmicks out for a while, started experimenting with those, and yeah, that was pretty fun too.
Now, before we go even in too far into the smartphone, because we can actually talk about present smartphone. But do you remember in let's say '06? Yeah. So do you
Mhm.
remember in about '06 there was something called the Nokia Engage?
Yes, and that was when I was deep off into like the electronic gaming monthlies and the other things that were out at the time, which uh, not I don't think any of them had anything good to say about anything. So I steered clear of it. There was one of those ones where just everything from it, it it looked great, as far as like just the presentation when you first look at it. But when I started hearing like the issues about like you having like it being hard to actually put the games in it because of where they actually positioned the cartridge slots in a pretty inconvenient spot. I was like, oh wow.
Yeah, so I said, 2006.
Mhm.
I wasn't paying attention to my notes here. But it was actually the run for the N-Gage was actually from October 2003 to February 2006. That's when Nokia released that, and that is actually the world's first dedicated gaming mobile, and it was launch price was basically $299, which is equivalent to uh, almost $500 in 2023.
Mhm.
So that's just wild. It
Yeah.
is wild. Like it was released for that much, and I'm almost positive somebody that we know have had one before. I want to
Mhm.
say like I think somebody at our old company that we used to work at had one, and I can't remember who, but I remember seeing it at work before.
Mhm.
So I just don't remember exactly who it was, but the design is like you were saying. The design actually was one of the major issues. Um, so they revised it, and they actually released the N-Gage QD in May of 2004, and it ended up being a commercial failure, and it was discontinued in '05, and they sold all the way out till '06. Engage, for those who don't know, it's kind of like a taco, and the people joke on it and called it the taco phone because of its shape. When you're looking at it, it's flat on the top. It's got a little curved on the bottom like a taco in the side, and then you had on the right hand side you had the keys where the number keys where you can actually dial things on and stuff like that. Then you had like a little gaming stick on the left hand side for that, and then they had the phone button and the end button, and the screen was in the middle. If you get a chance, look up the N gauge. It was a very unique gaming phone. It's for that. I think I wanted one, but in my head, I could not bring myself to actually. I couldn't bring myself to actually do it. I just
Yeah.
couldn't bring myself to buy it, and like I said, because at the time it came out, my daughter was 1 years old, so I didn't really have the money anyway. I had a little baby, from '03 to '06. Yeah, I really yeah, I couldn't bring myself to pay that much.
Yeah, and with cost versus performance and what you could actually get out of it, I think we were coming off better with the PSPs around about somewhere close to that time. But it's funny because actually, like with the PSPs, say what you can about as far as like the modding them goes, but that was the only way you could get certain features out of the things that were actually better features. I actually started modding my PSP because the cartridges started to fail and they actually became unplayable when the clear plastic on the top of them started giving away. And then I found out that I could rip my games before they actually got banned, and you could use it in because you could actually rip them from the PSP and set them off to the side, and then you could use them after that, even if your cartridge was messing up. And I don't think I have one cartridge that actually still works to this day.
I think I do. Honestly, I have to look. I think my cartridges work. Um, I'm looking into my little case here, and
Mhm.
oh no, I don't have cartridges in this. I don't know where I put my cartridge.
I think I do. I probably do have some that still work, but yeah, that.
I gotta look, but I know this one. I, I see. I puzzle challenge. I love this one. It's you
Mm.
can't really see that because the light is on it. But puzzle challenge. I love this one. I actually bought this game after my PSP was mod because um also I do remember this one. The way this one is modded, I can actually look at the battery now. The way this one is modded, um this is the one where you actually have to have a cartridge in there playing
Mhm.
for it to actually work. So for the mod, but um yeah, it's funny because, like, my games never really messed up like that. I never had that issue.
Oh, mine did. I was like, and it's not even like I was being rough with the thing.
Yeah, my battery's still
Oh,
good.
oh wow.
I told you. Yeah. Yeah, I with this, and I can't remember the game. There was a couple of games that I got too, or when I got this one, and um, we got this because I was going on a long trip, and I this is when I was really into the height of gaming, like when I was like a gamer, and
Mhm.
I didn't want to be. Well, we were going on a Thanksgiving trip to New York, and I was just like, I don't want to be without my game system. So then Tanya agreed, and we bought it. So that was me pouting is how I got that game system.
Yeah, but that was I think my PSP was like probably my first MP3 player.
Yeah, yeah. I think I did the same. I think
Mm.
that mine was the same. So we did get off topic though, because I want to go back to smartphones. So um, Angry Birds was your top first download, but probably top mobile game that you played. Did you have any other mobile games that you played?
Yeah, there was this one called Granny Smith that I liked a lot, which was basically had this little animated grandmother like going down a hill, but it was like she had to like get jump over obstacles and get like these apples, and it's hard to describe, but it was hilarious though.
That is Granny Smith apples. So Granny Smith
Yeah.
getting apples makes sense. So yeah, yeah. So um I've actually played a lot of mobile games. There was a time where I was just downloading a bit different mobile games because of the different jobs that I've had that at times would be boring, so I would just download a game to play. And I remember I think it was Stick Wars. I've downloaded that game. I downloaded it was this one game, it was a war game. I can't remember what it was. It was like a tower defense type game, but you end up having to like kind of have an alliance and all that. Uh, I downloaded tons of different puzzle games, mahjong, um, other kind of puzzle games and everything. Um, and I've downloaded one of the major games that I've played, and we're about to roll into here talking about addiction. One of the major games that I played and I had a slight addiction for was Injustice 2.
Mm,
So
yeah.
I originally I can't remember if I got the mobile game first or I got the console game first, but I got the console game as a gift. I do remember having the mobile game, and you had to actually sign in on the console to get special stuff for the mobile. And there was sometimes where I only signed in on the console just so I can get whatever the special thing for the mobile. And I was hooked on that game. I was so stuck on that game. And if y'all remember back in I think season 1, I was talking about it when I was talking about Injustice. I was
I remember
truly
you
hooked on
playing
it.
that.
Yeah, that game
Yeah,
you know,
it looked
and
good.
that game was it was good. It was fun. It was good, but it got to a point where like characters that I was trying to get, they wouldn't
Mm,
give me those characters, and I was trying hard to, and then it was like it got so hard, and it was so hard to advance and all this other stuff too. So it got to a point where the game wasn't fun anymore, and I was basically just doing it just for addiction purposes, and I'm using addiction lightly. For anyone who has a true addiction, I truly sympathize. But I'm using this lightly only because I was able to stop myself, but I had addiction tendencies because of the fact of how I was like scheduling stuff around signing into that game and playing that game, you know?
yeah,
So
that counts as an addiction. Yeah,
right,
it's
you know, and
yeah.
honestly, to a point where I've kind of gone back to that point with another game that I've been playing, but I'm not only because of I know that if like say like when I go on a trip I'm about to take, I know I'm not going to be playing that game unless I just have a couple extra minutes. So
Mhm,
I'm not going to touch that game uh because of the fact that I would rather enjoy my trip. When I
mhm.
go on other trips, work trips and stuff like that, or I go on a different vacation, sure I'll play that game while I'm on vacation, but when I'm out, I'm not thinking about the game, I'm enjoying my vacation.
Yeah,
So that's why I know that I don't have that game addiction stuff, you know? But when
yeah.
you're sitting there thinking about that game and you're trying to log on, and I had did that with that war game at one point, and I don't remember what the name of the war game is. Originally, it started on, a PC that I had, a laptop that I had, and then I actually had the, Microsoft Surface, ended up putting it on that. So it was on my laptop and it was on the Surface, and I was able to play it on both. And I remember specifically when I realized that I was, addicted to that game, I got really frustrated, when we went to a vacation during Christmas, and I could not get internet on my laptop, and I was getting angry because I couldn't log in on time.
Mm.
And I was getting so angry. So that's when I was like, "Oh, yeah, I think I'm starting to be addicted to this game. I need to put it down."
Yeah, it's when it changes your mood, but sometimes you need that fix as far as like your game goes. Not to mention sometimes you need just that mental distraction. And it's like as much time as I spent with that I mean it was lonely out there in the desert. So that PSP was my not the PSP. I'm sorry, my Game Boy was the original one was my constant companion, out there, And so between that and the Tetris that was on there, recently that's come full circle because I just recently get bought purchased Tetris Effect for my Quest, which kind of although I can start it and put it down, yeah, I'm not quite as addicted to it as I was before, but just with the additions and the new environmental effects and things and the music and everything, it's easy to get lost in it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, going back to addiction again, the game that I was referring to that I'm kind of addicted to now, I've
Mm,
talked about it just recently, is puzzles and survival.
mm,
Um, a shout out to my FWB crew again. I've actually said it before, what's up, Shay, Buff, Quai, Sweetie, all of those, everyone. I'm sorry if I'm getting people's names here, but uh, only a couple of them actually listen to the podcast anyway. But for anyone who I remember, Kenna, all of them, like we actually have a really cool crew, and they actually
mm,
make the game easy
nice.
because of the fact that it's one of those login games. You log in, you have different events to do at different times and all that. Um, and because you're part of this crew, everyone works together. And so even though you may or may not advance, they try to help you advance.
Mhm,
And I truly love that game. Um, Now, because of trying to prevent having addiction, I haven't allowed myself to put money on it yet. However, now I think I'm steady enough to where I can say, okay, I can put money on it and I'll be fine. You know, so
mhm.
I'm going to actually try and put money on it because microtransactions, man. We can get into microtransactions in a minute. We're coming up on time, but I want to get into that.
Mhm,
But that game, Puzzle and Survivals, is actually the reason why too that I wanted to bring that up because I'm actually playing other games too, Diggy's Adventures and another one. It's like a fishdom. I'm playing fishdom, which is so funny. Um, I this is part of the reason why I wanted to bring up this whole thing too, these microtransactions and everything like that. These
mhm.
games, some of these games, they actually have this kind of way about them that's like it's almost like vaporware where they have you it's kind of false advertising. They give you, this type of ad. You have to do the ad. I mean, you see the ad and you're like, "Oh, man, that looks so fun. I wanna play this. I wanna do this." And then you do it. You download the game, and it's not what you downloaded.
Mhm.
And that is just so jacked up that they do that to you.
Yeah.
But, I've just realized that, when I downloaded Puzzle Survival on my iPad, and then I downloaded it on my phone, the phone game is slightly different, so it actually had some of those stuff that you actually see in the trailer or, the little, ads and stuff like that, so but, that's actually a really good and fun game to play, and I've actually got a couple of accounts, whatever, so I can build up this one account, this one major account, so that's actually pretty cool, but going back to microtransactions, man, it's it's kind of funny because of these microtransactions. They almost, like, pull people's addictions because it's like how, they the game is actually free. It's free to download, free to play, and all that, but to get the better stuff, to advance further, you have to put this amount of money on.
Oh,
You have to get the really big packs to do this
yeah.
and do that. Now
There's a reason why I never mess with Candy Crush.
And that was another game that I actually had downloaded. I played that
Mhm,
a lot when we were at our old job. You
mhm,
know, when we worked together in the second job that we worked together,
mhm.
I played that a whole lot. And then I was like, yeah, this game is too addictive. I put it down, deleted it off my app. As soon as I realized that that was an addiction, I cut it off. I was like, I'm done. I'm done. You
When
know?
I saw how addicting it was and saw people getting hooked on it, I was like, "Nah, I'm not falling for that one. That is one banana in the tailpipe I'm not going for."
Yeah, yeah. This one though, this game, because of the fact that I don't feel like I'm addicted yet.
Mhm.
And again, like I said, you know, I try not to put too much money on whatever. If I don't put out money out, you know, but because I feel like I won't be addicted, I can actually start paying for stuff for different things to upgrade to different stuff because I actually enjoy this and I don't feel like I have to play it all the time.
Yeah.
You know, you know,
I'm I, it, I've been actually trying to avoid because one of the games that I one of my comfort games that I go to is this one called Vampire Survivors, which it's one of those it's another one of those games super easy to start playing, super addictive, and it's like I mean, and oh man, and they've added stuff like Castle because the sprites already look it looks very Castlevania-ish, and you can tell that there was a lot of inspiration by from Castlevania. And recently, they added Contra and Castlevania characters to the game, and I'm just like, it. Even just playing it on console, I've had times where I'm just like, okay, because it's basically just 30-minute rounds. You got 30 minutes to do as much as you can, and then your death is going to come out and kill you. Although there are ways of actually getting around and and battling back a little bit, but it's like that 30-minute hit, and it's like, oh, it's so easy to get into. But I'm just like, if I had it on mobile, which like I said, I have ways of accessing it through mobile, but I have been avoiding them. Yeah, I'm just like I would probably play it a whole lot more than I actually do.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I swear, man, like some of these things are so good, and you just want to. This is like
Yeah.
you know, it's I swear it's so. It's actually funny too. You mentioned that Vampire Survivors because I feel like I've played a game similar to that.
Once it got popular, there were a lot of rip-offs of it, so yeah, it's possible.
The puzzle and survival actually deals with zombies. So you're in an
Mhm,
apocalyptic world, and it's kind of has like the Walking Dead vibe to it. And it's funny
mhm,
because they actually had a partnership with the Walking Dead for a little bit. So
mhm.
that was actually funny. You know, but they had other ones. Just recently, they had a partnership with Transformers, and they actually did that. They did GI Joe.
Mhm.
Um, so they actually did all those, and it's actually pretty cool. But I feel like I have played that Vampire Survivors one before, and I just can't remember where, and I don't know if it was a mobile or not. But
Uh,
it's funny, I could probably Google in our my app store, and then I'll be like, "Oh, yep, there it is right there. I already downloaded it once."
mhm.
So, um, but going back again, like I said, with these microtransactions, man, they know how to get people, and
Oh
they
yeah.
know that that actually, like, just feeds into the addiction. But it's to me, it's all a matter of knowing yourself and knowing that, okay, this is a game to me, like, cause even there's even microtransactions on a lot of the games that we play.
Oh yeah.
Um, the Call of Duty, specifically. On Call of Duty, that that microtransaction is crazy just to get better weapons and different things like that.
Yeah.
It's so wild to me.
Yeah. I miss just being able to upgrade through the gameplay and get better costumes and better weapons. Yeah, there's still that, but we'll definitely quickly put a lot of that stuff behind the paywall nowadays. And I get it, this models change, but I do kind of miss just being able to earn my stuff out in the game that I've paid time for. But
Another game that had crazy microtransactions that we had kinda mentioned before, Pokemon Go,
mm,
that had crazy microtransactions in it. I've downloaded that for a while, and I deleted it, because that was another one I was addicted with, because once they started having it where you went to the gyms and you had to check in at gyms and you would actually get a gym and hold on to it, I
yeah,
found myself on the way to work, when I used to work, an hour away, on the way to work, there was this one place that was a gym that almost nobody went to, and I
Mhm.
would put myself in that gym, and I would get all these points or whatever for being in that gym for however long, and then every time I passed by and I noticed that I wasn't in the gym, I was actually being dangerous with it, and every time I was driving by and actually had the phone open and saw it and I was looking at it, and if I wasn't at the gym, I would stop and put myself back in that gym, and then leave and go in there, leave and go home, or go back to
That
work, whatever.
I, I always thought was so cool, but I was just like, I was. That's when I was kind of just scared that I was going to get addicted to if I actually started getting into it. So that's another one that I avoided.
Dude, once you realize you didn't have to actually walk to do a lot of this stuff,
Mhm.
then yeah, there was like all kinds of things, ways you can actually get around, like to get the points and stuff like that, and have your egg hatch and all this different stuff. So yeah, that was another one I had to delete because it got too addictive. So anyway, um, so we're gonna go ahead and cut here. But we would love to hear from you about your mobile gaming experiences, some of your favorite mobile games, whether you did play Clash of Clans, Candy Crush, Stick Wars, Angry Birds, the mobile games, whatever you decided to play. We would love to hear what you played. Um, it's such a vast amount of games, and I would love to see the different types of games that people like. So, if you want to reach out to us, you can actually email us at told my wife podcast at gmail.com. You can follow us on Instagram at told my wife podcast. You can follow us on Facebook. I told my wife I'm paying bills. You subscribe to our YouTube page. I told my wife I'm paying bills podcast. Um, you can actually follow me on TikTok. TikTok is back for right now, so you can follow me at Slimtor78. And just kind of rate, review, subscribe, share. Just kind of help us kind of build up a little bit more. We need to reach some more ears here. So anything you can do to help us, reach some more people, please, please, help us out. Um, Chris, you got anything you want to say before we head out?
Nope, just as usual. I love going down these trips down memory lane, and definitely exploring where we're at as far as gaming goes today. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
always
yeah,
fun.
for sure. Yeah, so I think the next one might be another gaming one, but we also might do a show. I'm not sure yet. I got to do some thinking in the building, so you know, definitely come back for our next one. Black will be back for that one. So we should be good. Like I said, recording issues and just time limit with everything with the recording. So it was a just bad timing for it all, unfortunately. But we should be good to go. And like I said, soon we'll actually be going and be looking into getting us a new logo. So that's gonna be dope. But anyway, but for now, um, we're gonna go ahead and sign off here. And until our next one, I'm Slim.
And I'm Chris.
And whether you're binging or button mashing, we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Goodbye.